Hello, everybody. Today we'll be talking about verbal behavior. In particular, we're going to be talking about mands. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to define mand, give examples of a mand, and implement mand training with your child. So what is a mand? To put it simply, the word mand means demand. So the mand is right in the word demand. So why should we teach our kids mands first? Teaching mands first is important because your child will be getting reinforced with the same item that they are asking for. If your child is asking for a cup, they're going to get the cup. If they're asking for their favorite teddy bear, they're going to get the teddy bear. Your child will learn to communicate their basic wants and needs. Some examples of a mand. Some examples would be like asking your husband for a drink by saying, "Bob, will you get me some water, please?" A child pointing to the pantry and saying "cookie" to you. A child signing "walk" to their teacher. So pretty much there's tons of different kinds of examples of a mand. Pretty much any time you are requesting something from somebody else, that is an example of a mand. So sometimes our children might engage in problem behavior because they cannot communicate their basic wants and needs. That's very frustrating. Oftentimes I feel that is kind of the underlying cause behind a lot of problem behaviors, is that they just are not able to communicate whatever's going on. So an example could be a child starting to scream and cry when they cannot reach their favorite toy on the top shelf. So what do? We need to teach them the appropriate way to ask for that item. So obviously it's a little different depending on the communication skills that your child has. If your child is verbal or they're able to say a few words, then you can prompt them to ask for it. So you could say, "I want teddy bear," or "I want train," and try to get your child to repeat that back to you, and then obviously reinforce with that item. If your child is just emerging in their language skills, but they are verbal, just saying one word to get their point across is sufficient. We don't want to make this frustrating for them. So if they just say train, then yes, awesome job saying train, here's the train, and reinforce that behavior. Now, if your child can say a lot of things already and you want to try to prompt a full sentence, you could just start with "I want train" and try to get them to use, a 2 or 3 word sentence. And then obviously that can just kind of grow and escalate from there. But to start, if they just say one word and they're getting their point across, you can reinforce for that. A little note on manners. I know as a parent, we always want to try to have, teach our children good manners. But with early communicators, I don't typically recommend to put an emphasis on this, just because to start, we want to make it easy for them to communicate. So even just saying one word is better than them engaging in problem behaviors. As they become more confident in their communication skills and they're manding for multiple items, they're able to use 3 or 4 word sentences. If manners are something that's really important to you, then you can add "please" at the end of the sentence. In the meantime, you can model appropriate manners when you are communicating with your child, or when you're talking with other people around you in the presence of your child. So you modeling those appropriate manners can also teach them how they should be manding as well. So how do we increase mands for nonverbal children? If your child has limited verbal skills or are nonverbal, you can start by prompting them to say the first sound in a word. For example, if they are reaching for their favorite baby doll, have them say the first sound in the word "baby" before giving them the doll. So you would have them say "b, b" for baby. My advice is to prompt this 3 times by saying "b," and wait 3 seconds for your child to respond before re-prompting. So give them a second to respond. However, if 3 seconds goes by, re-prompt with that same "b." After you've attempted 3 prompts, and if your child has not even made any sounds at all, do not provide any social reinforcement, but you can provide the child with the item. So provide the child with the baby, and while you're handing them that item, you can say baby again. This is an example of something that's called non-contingent reinforcement, because even though they have not engaged in the behavior that we're looking for, which is them to say b or baby, we're still going to provide them with reinforcement. It's just not going to be super duper exciting, because we don't want learning language to be aversive for your child. But we still want to push them to speak. So just come back at another time with the same situation, try again to get them to say the B sound. If you've never done man training with your child, or your child is not in therapy and doing some man training, and this is the first time that they've done anything like this, then obviously, the first time or the second or the third time you go through this, they might not say anything at all. Now, if your child does say something, even if they say like the wrong sound, so let's say you're trying to get them to make that B sound for the baby, and they make, a sound. Provide a lot of reinforcement, give them the baby, because at first we want them to just learn that making any sound at all will get them something. And then we can do something called shaping to shape that sound into what we want it to be. So even if they're saying at first and you're providing that reinforcement, then they're going to start to learn that making a sound will get them something. And then we can try to shape that into the actual B sound. So now the next time you go to do it, really try to focus on them making the B sound. And if they do it, provide a ton of reinforcement, give them the baby, get really excited. And then you can build that up to them then saying bay, bay, and then, baby. And you can just keep going until they're able to say the entire word baby. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a lot of information. If you have to watch this PowerPoint a couple times or go back and read it, that might be helpful. You can use this strategy for pretty much any word, and you can prompt in any situation where your child is trying to request something. If you know what your child is trying to ask for, if it's food or anything like that, you can use this strategy, prompt them to say the word or say the beginning sound in the word, and then provide reinforcement if they make that sound or a sound at all to start. And then obviously just keep shaping it until they're making the actual sounds that you're looking for. Some helpful hints: make sure that you're following your child's motivation. So, whatever they're motivated for that day, then you can, use that as what you're going to try to get them to demand for. Sometimes you might have to modify the environment to create a situation where they have to ask for something. Obviously, don't take any toys out of their hands or anything like that, but, if they're super motivated for their baby doll and it happens to get put on a top shelf as you're playing, then you can prompt them to ask for it by using those steps that we just talked about. Just remember that learning how to communicate can be very challenging and frustrating for your child. So just make sure as you're implementing these strategies that you're keeping it really fun. Make sure that you're staying enthusiastic. If you feel yourself getting too frustrated, then, just come back and try again another time. Or, make sure it's a good time for your child too. If they're having a really awesome time playing, that would be a good time to do some man training with them. If they're already having a really off day and it doesn't seem like you're going to have successful training sessions, then that probably wouldn't be the best time to, try it. Just because you want it to be successful, you want it to be fun, you don't want them to get too frustrated, especially early on. So hopefully that helps. Let's go ahead and do the quiz now. So quiz question number 1, what is a mand? The answer is it's a demand, just to put it simply. Quiz question number 2, how many times do you prompt when teaching mands? 3 prompts. So obviously if they make a sound after the first time you've prompted it, then you can reinforce, then play with the doll. You don't have to keep going on and doing more prompts. But if you've prompted the first time, they haven't emitted any sounds, you prompt again, still no sounds, then you can prompt that third time before giving the reinforcement. Quiz question number 3, how many seconds do I wait in between prompts? And that would be 3 seconds. So 3 is kind of the lucky number here. So, have them do the first sound, B, wait for them to respond. If there's no response, B, wait again for a response, wait 3 seconds, prompt again, B, and then provide the reinforcement. Quiz question number 4. What do I do if my child does not even make a sound when prompting for a man? And the answer is that you provide them with that item, but do not provide additional reinforcement. So don't make it super fun and exciting, but still give them that item and then come back and try again another time. Again, that's because we don't want learning how to communicate to be frustrating, so we do provide that non-contingent reinforcement. And that brings us to the end. So thanks for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions. If you want to check out my blog post, I'll write some of the same information in there so that hopefully if something in this PowerPoint didn't make sense, it will make more sense in the blog post. Thanks for watching.